Hi, everyone. This is Renee Rentmeester. I'm the creator and executive producer of the Cooking Without Looking TV show and podcast. And today we're truly blessed with someone who has a great personality, lots of fun, and she's an author. Her name is Michele Farrell. Michele, welcome.
Thank you so much, Renee, for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, well, I'm excited to have you and excited to hear what you have to say for us. Our motto is changing the way we see blindness, and now you're part of our mission. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh my gosh. So, man, I tell people all the time that I probably am the most boring person that they will ever meet because all I do is read books and write books. But apparently that's interesting to some people, so I just kind of go with it. I am, oh my gosh, I'm in my 30s now, and I'm a wife, and of course, an author, and I'm a dog mom, and I live in the Midwest, and I love it here. Like I don't know why people don't love it in the Midwest, but I'm an Indiana girl, and I lived in Arkansas for a while. I went to the Arkansas School for the Blind. I've also gone to the Indiana School for the Blind, so I'm not unfamiliar with the blind community. However, um, I didn't really start losing my vision drastically until around 2019. And at that time, I became cane dependent and I had to have a major surgery because they were trying to save what little vision I had left in my right eye. And the surgery didn't end up working, which I knew was a possibility. So I lost 80% of my vision in my right eye. So my right eye just kind of looks like a nice foggy day over there. Um, and I can't really see much. And in my left eye, of course, I'm legally blind and I still do have some usable vision, but I'm cane dependent and I luckily know some grade one braille. My husband, he's teaching me JAWS and NVDA. I'm at that point in my learning process of learning JAWS and NVDA, which is not fun. I commend all of you who already have been knowing JAWS and NVDA because for those of us who have to learn, I don't know, sometimes I feel really remedial when he's teaching me things. And I'm just like, I don't understand what's happening right now. But I love it. I recently leaned into becoming more of an inclusion advocate. And so I try to use my social media to highlight fun things about the blind community, blind accessible dating activities, blind friendly games, blind tips and tricks that we maybe don't always talk about, whether it's hygiene or making friends. There's so much that we don't talk about as blind people. And I feel like as someone coming into blindness, who has kind of had a foot in both the blind and sighted world, I have a really interesting perspective. And so recently I have found that I really enjoy sharing those thoughts and bringing people together and just teaching them. And even in doing so, I'm teaching my sighted friends about what it's like to hang out with blind people. And it's been an amazing journey because I'm meeting blind businesswomen who sell jewelry and make candles. And of course, Renee, I met you. And so it's been so amazing just learning and growing while embracing who I am as a blind woman.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's the main focus of what we do here. We don't have to sit on two sides of the world, blind and sighted. We can all be together. We can all join the party. We can all
Hmm.
learn from one another, and I found a lot of times that although people went through like amazing classes like at lighthouses and stuff, and schools for the blind, what everyone could do was sort of hidden just hidden, period. And
Well,
most people, unless it's in the media or whatever, they don't know, they usually don't know a person who's blind.
yeah. And it's funny because people are more open to blindness than you think. Like
Mhm.
I understand that a lot of blind and low vision people and for me, even my family, when they knew I was gonna lose vision, it was really weird because they started being afraid of what I couldn't do. Like, oh, she's gonna be blind. She's not gonna be able to drive. She's not gonna be able to do things. So these people who sometimes are the closest to us tend to be the ones that put those limitations on us. And once you hear once you hear something, you can't unhear it. No matter how much healing or growth you go through, when you hear people tell you what you can't do, that lingers. And so then you go into adulthood and you're like, I'm blind. What am I supposed to do? And so then you meet people who are blind, who are doing amazing things. And then you're like, why would my family ever tell me, or why would my friends ever tell me I can't? And especially being blind in the 21st century, there's so many advancements in technology that blind people literally, we can
God,
do
yeah.
anything. Like we can do
Yeah.
anything. And people want to know us. A lot of my friends are sighted, and it's so cool. They took me recently to a peep show, my friends did, and um, having sighted people audio just like describe in real time the peep show to you is so funny. It was very funny. But it was so nice because they were like, we want you to be there. So it wasn't even about me being blind. It was about them wanting me to be there as their friend. And so I try to encourage other blind and low vision people, reach out to people as a friend, go into some of
Person.
these, yeah, as a person, like go into some of these Facebook groups, introduce yourself. Um, the Meetup app, there's so many different apps out here geared toward helping people connect. And I feel like my mission isn't to help bring light to the blind community or help sighted people understand blind people. My mission is to help the two worlds connect because I'm in both worlds and I love it here. So I want both of my worlds to come together and to learn from each other. And I feel like I'm slowly able to do that between my social media interactions and my real life interactions.
I find that sometimes the fears that sighted people have is that they'll use the wrong terminology.
Yep.
I just say, well, you know what? Don't worry about terminology. Do you meet me and consider what terminology you're going to use for me? I use my first name. That's
Yep. Just call me
terminology.
Renee.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that. So I have a friend and her husband, when he first met myself and my husband Danny, we went to their house for a barbecue. And he was asking if he could take our canes to put them away for us. And he said, can I take your walkers? Like, can I put them away? You want me to put your walkers away?
Oh
And
my God.
so now it's the joke. Every time we see him, we're like, hey, can you put our walkers away for us? And it becomes a really funny thing because he never met a blind person. He didn't know what to call it. And honestly, I'd rather somebody call it a walker because a walker is a mobility aid than just a stick. You know what I'm saying? Like at least you want to call it a mobility aid. The people who call it a stick, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about you stick people, but um, the Walker people, those are some of our best friends. And I mean, they're just it's amazing what you can do if you're willing to advocate for yourself.
Right, right. And you know what I'm always amazed at is that so many of the people who are blind who I've met are not like in a pity party for themselves. They're out there. I've known more sighted people in pity parties, and than I've ever met people who are blind. A lot of people who are just like, okay, man, this is what I'm dealing with. And I think one of the best things I ever heard from someone was they said that, well, she was going blind and then she finally went blind and she said, you know what? I just needed to learn the skills of a person who's blind. And
Hmm.
that was okay. It's like everything else in our life. Once you learn the skills, you're good for it.
That's what I tell people about when I write. In my most recent release, it's called Love Can't Be Measured, and it's about a woman. Her name is McKenna, and McKenna has this beautiful life. She's an author, and she just became pregnant with her first child, and she has a husband who's a radio personality. And I mean, everything seems really good in her life. And then she gets into this accident, and she ends up in a coma for 10 days. And when she wakes up, she has amnesia and she can't remember the last 5 years of her life. So she doesn't remember her husband and the life that they've built together. She doesn't remember that she's currently pregnant. Like any of the things that were happening before the accident, she doesn't remember.
Right.
And when I went into writing the book, I wanted people to see less about the fact that she's blind and more about the fact that she's an overcomer and her ability to adapt to her circumstances. And for me, it's the same. I could either have lived my life fearing that someday way in the future I'm going to go totally blind, or I could adapt. And I think that people who are privileged, um, especially people who, we call sighted, adapting isn't something that comes to them first. We as blind people, we have to adapt. There's like we go into situations with the mindset of how can I make this work for me? Whereas sighted people go into situations just this is the situation I'm going to. This is my every single day life. So they don't really think about it. And so when things happen to them, it's very jarring. And I think that's where the pity comes from. Is like this is the biggest thing that's ever happened to them versus blind people are like, okay, we deal with crazy every single day. Like sometimes we can't get Ubers because we have service animals. I need you to get it together, sighted friends. And like tell your sighted friends that blind people, like, bruh, we can't get Ubers because we have service animals. Can you please, what's the issue? How can we work through your thing together? But it's also acknowledging too that something that is small to us might not be small to the next person. So we look at it as like, oh my gosh, you're throwing this pity party for yourself because we've overcome different things. But for a lot of sighted people, the idea of being totally blind for them is the scariest thing that could ever happen to them because they've never had to overcome anything. If you think about blindness and low vision, a lot of us uh, go blind. There's people who go blind because of diabetes. There's people who get glaucoma. There's people who develop cataracts. There's people who get injuries. Like when we go blind, a lot of times we're already dealing with something else. And
Sure. Not just
so,
blindness.
yeah, something on top of the blindness. So for us, the blindness is the least of our concerns. Whereas a lot of perfectly healthy people who go blind can't fathom it because that's the worst thing that ever happened to them because they've never faced any other challenge.
Right, right. Or the challenges weren't as, I think society gives more challenges than what there really should be on a person who's blind or whatever other disability someone may have. They look on you differently. You talk about blind people have to, sort of like assimilate or um, I don't know, just be like feel like you're like everyone else. Whereas I think that if sighted people were to walk into blindness organizations, they would have to do the same thing, only in a different manner. And
Hmm.
I've learned so much over the years, like 24 years now. I I feel more comfortable a lot of times with blind people than I do with people who are sighted, because a lot of times there's some misconceptions, and that makes me angry, especially blind jokes. I hate jokes about blindness and Stevie Wonder. Like that's not nice. It's just not. I mean, if you're telling a joke about blindness, it's different, but I don't want to hear it from a sighted person. I don't want to hear another Stevie Wonder joke ever in my life.
I definitely understand. And for me, jokes depend on the person because I'm very much the type to laugh at my situation.
Sure,
So if I know that the joke is to entertain and not to demean, then the joke is okay.
sure,
But for a lot of people, the joke is to demean. And
right.
you can tell, right? Like you can tell when someone's joking and they're like, oh, this is really funny, or when they're being demeaning. And um, I have a great example. So my book club, when we did our book club White Elephant back in December, uh, we were having it at my friend's house, and she goes all out with decorations. And someone goes, something, 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 Michelle, it's okay. You didn't see that. And it was very, very funny. And what they were doing was they were showing each other. We had a conversation about buying bras from Lane Bryant. And so, and so, this is a bunch of ladies, and we're all really excited because um we have an opportunity to talk about, bras. And so they start whipping their shirts up and like showing the different bras that they bought from Lane Bryant. And I'm like, what is happening? And my friend was just like, you don't really want to see this anyway. And it was really funny because I didn't realize they had their boobs out. And so, and so like there are certain things that are like genuinely very funny because they're not doing it to demean you. Whereas in other situations, I've been in situations where you can tell, like, oh, that person is blind. Or, I've had experiences at movie theaters where I've overheard people asking how blind people watch movies. I went to Wicked back in December with my best friend, and there was a guy sitting next to us.
Right.
And the guy who was sitting next to us noticed that I was blind. So at the end of the movie, he asks, can I ask, how did you watch the movie? And so then it was a teaching opportunity. I got an opportunity to teach him about audio description and how I was able to enjoy the movie. And, again, it's one of those things where you could tell that he was being genuinely sincere. Like
Sure.
like he was in our same row. He noticed that I was blind, just like, somebody was helping me to my seat. He held my drink so I could get comfortable. He was very, very kind about it. And then when the movie was over, he asked me, how did you watch this movie if you're blind? And so I, as blind people too, sometimes we jump to immediately thinking that someone is being negative
Right, right.
when a lot of times people, I don't know how to necessarily put this into words, but
They
it's
just want
it's
to
like when
learn.
they want to learn, but it's also like, when you have nervous laughter.
Right.
I think some people who get around blind people and they've never been around blind people before, it's like having nervous laughter. Like you try so hard because you don't want to offend them. And so you end up accidentally offending someone anyway because you tried so hard not to be offensive. Whereas in the situation, just talk to us like the people that we are and embrace us like the people that we are. And so I think that a lot of those things are case by case situations, and we can always tell. And I also think that as blind people, we have to be open to connecting with sighted people because if we don't teach them, how will they learn? Like I love blind talk. And I love all these blind people on social media talking about their experiences. And my husband's, we'll just call her his sister-in-law because they've been together for a long time. But my husband's sister-in-law, when he met her, she was very comfortable with his blindness because she follows Molly Burke on YouTube. And so she was asking him all these questions about being blind or low vision because of her love for Molly Burke. And so he was like, it was great interacting with her because she wanted to know more. And so I feel like we have to sometimes give these sighted people the benefit of the doubt. I had an Uber driver once who loved beat baseball.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
he was telling me about how he has a writer who I live in Indianapolis, and he has a writer that he frequently picks up who plays for the Indy Edge, and he follows beat baseball now because of a blind writer he picked up. And so I feel like a lot of times we don't give sighted people enough credit. We just expect them to know. And that's not fair to them either. It's not fair, just like it's not fair for us to always have to teach. It's not fair for us to expect them to know. Like we have to find a middle ground.
Right. It's not unlike all groups of people, like
Mm-hmm.
a group of people. Like I used to have in college, I had one roommate from Japan, another one from Hong Kong. And quite honestly, like after I got to know either one of them, I forgot they were from other countries because
Mm-hmm.
you
Because they're
know
just people at that point. Yeah.
exactly. And I literally forgot. And one of them, Eugenia. In fact, I feel like on my way out of this world, I'd love to see them again. One of them's on my Facebook page, Keiko. But Eugenia was funny. She was from Hong Kong, and she introduced me to a woman, a young woman uh, from our group, and she called her Wani. And so for like a whole semester, I was calling this girl Wani. And then Wani pulled me aside and said, "Hey, my name is Vani. Eugenia can't pronounce her W's because, they don't have W's in Chinese." And he's like, "Oh my God, I forgot." I
That
mean,
is so funny.
yeah, but and then with whatever group you're in, you just have to learn about it with an open mind and don't tell people how they should be or how you want them to be. Just, have an open mind about it so you can learn.
Absolutely. I absolutely 100% agree with you. And again, that's what I do a lot of times with my social media is I use it as a teaching tool so that people can learn and embrace. And I don't just talk about blindness, but I do make blindness a big part of my social media because blindness is a big part of who I am. And it's a big part of the characters that I create and develop. Because I want people to know that we're just amazing out here.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a good time. Everyone can have fun, and it doesn't matter if you have sight or not. I mean, it just depends on maybe sometimes the type of fun you're having, but not necessarily. Like one of the first ladies who were on our show, she was actually a blind chef and she was one of our hosts. She's passed now, bless her soul, but she it was funny. One time she described they had a rat in their house. And she said her husband, who was sighted, it ended up getting caught in the trap. And she goes, "It was one time I was very happy to be blind," you know?
Oh my gosh. And I know that feeling. So, oh my gosh. I hope my brother never listens to this episode of this podcast. So my brother a few years
Uh-oh.
ago, my brother a few years ago was staying at my apartment while I was in the hospital. And I don't I don't know what he ate or I don't know what happened to him that ruined my toilet seat.
Oh
But I was coming home from the hospital, and when you leave the hospital, you have 17 stops. You got to go to the pharmacy, then you got to get your fluids, and you got to do blah, blah. So by the time I got home, I really, really had to go to the bathroom. And so I went to go to the bathroom, and I lifted the toilet seat, and I still to this day don't want to know what I touched. And
no.
my sighted friend was with me. She had come down from Arkansas because I was very sick. So she came down from Arkansas to help make sure I was okay because my husband was also sick at the same time. And
Oh
he
my
couldn't
God.
really, I know it was a really bad time in our house. And so I was like, oh my God, Terica, what am I touching? And she comes to the bathroom and she just immediately goes, oh. Oh, and like her reaction. And she was like, I'm just not gonna tell you. Just give me five. I know you really have to pee. Give me 5 minutes and I'll take care of it as best I can so you can pee.
Oh
And
no.
so to this day, I'm still glad that whatever happened in the bathroom, I didn't have enough vision. There are so many things I'm thankful that I've never had to see. But on the flip side, there are so many funny things I'm glad I had enough vision to see because many, many years ago, one of my very good friends, whose birthday is ironically today, had a paper route. And I used to ride with him on his paper route. Myself and my younger brother used to ride with him on his paper route before we had to go to school. So it'd be like 4 or 5 in the morning. We're driving around with him and he's throwing these papers. Well, one morning, um, we stop at an intersection and we look to the left and this car is just a rocking and a rolling at this intersection. And next thing you know, this woman comes flying out of the car completely nude, clutching a chihuahua.
Oh my God.
And so, okay. And so she darts across the street, and there's like conveniently a laundromat, but it's 5 a.m., so the laundromat, of course, is closed. So you see this girl clutching her chihuahua completely in the buff, banging on the laundromat door as if I don't know um
Did she
what
position
happened.
did she position the Chihuahua in certain areas where it couldn't be seen, certain things couldn't be seen?
Yeah, it was definitely a protector that day. And so, and like, and it's one of those things you have to see it to realize how funny it was. Because we're just sitting here and all of a sudden there's this commotion in this car and we're just sitting at the same red light. And so there's this commotion in this car and we can't go anywhere till the light turns green. And so seeing the passenger side open and her getting out, clutching this dog and darting across the street, I just couldn't believe it. And to this day, I'm still very glad that I saw it because that's it was mind-boggling. I don't know if she was getting paid for a service. I don't know if they were,
Oh
a
my.
couple in a fight. Like I don't know I don't know what the situation was, but I do know that her and that Chihuahua were in a situation.
Well, you can, Michelle, you can put it in one of your next books, put the situation in there and just grow it from there.
I will, right? Like,
Well, I
main
tell you,
character flees vehicle, clutching
Mr. the
Chihuahua in the new.
Chihuahua.
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah. Well, tell us, this is your time. Give us one of your wonderful recipes.
Oh my goodness. So I thought about this all morning, and I'm gonna go today with my spaghetti recipe because I just had spaghetti a few weeks ago, and my husband loves it. And my spaghetti recipe actually is very simple, but I use a lot of meat. So I buy the Hunt's 24-ounce cans of 4 cheese tomato sauce, but you can use whatever kind of sauce that you prefer. I also buy 2 cans of mild fire roasted Rotel tomatoes. And then for the meats, I use Italian sausage, ground beef, smoked sausage, and meatballs. Or if you're baking it, I add pepperoni. And then I pour the sauces and the tomatoes into the crock pot. I have my Italian seasonings and diced onions and bell peppers. And I let the meatballs cook in the sauce for about 6 hours. And while that's cooking, I get the meat going. So I cook the ground beef, I cook the sausage, get it seasoned up again how you like. I always add a little more diced bell peppers and onions to it. If you don't chop your own vegetables, you can buy the frozen kind. That's what I do. My husband's the chopper. He likes chopping. I don't like chopping. So I buy the frozen diced bell peppers and onions and I saute it with the ground beef and the Italian sausage. Then I throw that in there and it cooks good, gets all the flavor with the meatballs. And then the last hour, that's when you add the smoked sausage to the sauce because if you don't, they become a really weird texture because most smoked sausage is pre-cooked. So the last hour that it's on low, go in the kitchen, dice up your smoked sausage, throw it into the crock pot, and then boil your spaghetti on the stove, whichever spaghetti you prefer to use. I like to serve my spaghetti Italian style. So, and that's how my husband prefers it. It also, for us, I feel like the spaghetti sauce tastes better because the noodles and stuff don't congeal in it. You're just reheating sauce whenever you need to make your spaghetti. And so we always end up with like a crazy amount of leftover sauce, but it's so good. And then if you're baking it, of course, combine your pasta with your sauce when the sauce is done, and then pour it into a foil pan or a baking dish. Do a layer of cheese. I use Italian blend cheese when I bake it, and then I put pepperonis over the top layer of cheese. I bake it for about a half an hour, and then you pull it out and you have baked spaghetti.
Oh my God, that sounds so good. It reminds me of a recipe that my aunt used to use. I forget to put the peppers in. I think the peppers make a big difference.
Too. I mean, they absolutely, I use all of them. I use red, green, and yellow bell peppers.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then in my spaghetti sauce, I prefer yellow onion over white onion. But, everyone has their own onion preference. I prefer a yellow onion. I feel like yellow onions are a little more flavorful in pasta.
You could just
And
start
then
an online fight with that. Which do you like? Which onion do you like? I can just see people arguing over that.
I know, right? Or like yellow or white. It's always gonna be
Or the
yellow for
purple.
me.
I love the purple.
I forgot all about purple onions. I thought purple onions were only for salad. Like I'm not gonna lie, I thought that that was just some crazy thing that they put in salad that you're supposed to pick out.
For color, for typical.
Yeah, just to make it something besides green. Like here's a little purple for you. So I never believed in purple onions until I got to be an adult and I saw them at the store and I was like, oh, these don't just come in bag salad, they're everywhere. And
They're everywhere.
I don't know if I said it, but for the spaghetti recipe, you cook it on low for 6 hours. So you put the sauce in there with the meatballs, you cook it on low for 6 hours.
Oh, wow. That sounds
Mhm.
great. I love the slow cooker myself.
I know. I mean, it's so, even people who are not cookers, you literally, all you have to do for the spaghetti is let it cook itself. The biggest thing you have to do is chop and then brown the Italian sausage and the hamburger together. It's so simple, it's easy to clean up, it feeds a lot of people. Um, and if you have a small household like me, you that's 2 meals. Like we'll eat it for a couple of days, maybe 2 or 3 days, and then when we're done eating it, we just freeze the rest of the sauce until we're ready to eat it again. I also don't like reheating thawed spaghetti noodles, and so that's the other reason that I keep my sauce and my pasta separate. It's weird to me. Like, I'm gonna give me I don't know if it's because I'm spoiled. I don't know if it's because my I spoil my husband, but give me a fresh sauce. Give me some fresh noodles. I know it's a little bit of extra work, but I promise it's worth it. Separate your noodles and sauce,
Texture.
everybody.
The texture is better.
It is. It's a better texture. You can get the exact amount of sauce you want. Because my husband, he wants saucier. Like he likes having leftover sauce even when he's out of noodles. I don't like that. I need a balance of noodles and sauce. So then everyone gets the amount of sauce that they want. And I feel like it's a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, definitely. Well, as we come to an end here today, which I don't want to because I'm having so much fun with you, tell us what you would tell the advice you would give a person who was slowly losing their sight.
Oh my gosh. I would give you 3 pieces of advice. One, if you are a believer, continue taking things to God because losing your vision is so hard on your mental health. And I had to do that between God and therapy. That's what got me through, especially from 2019 to present, being able to transition from not being cane dependent and not needing as much help to needing all of these life modifications. If I didn't have prayer and therapy, I I wouldn't be okay. Um, my second piece of advice to someone who is losing their vision gradually, join the community. I was very nervous about becoming a part of the blind and low vision community because when I tried it a few years ago, I just didn't feel like I was welcome. And I felt like because I wasn't born blind, that I wasn't blind enough. And it took me a while to realize that just like anywhere you go, you're gonna find people who maybe don't welcome you with open arms, but keep
Sure.
keep trying and keep working at it because I've met some extraordinary blind people. I've met extraordinary people who are going through the same thing as me, transitioning from vision to no vision later in life. And so having that community, having a people like a group of people who I can call who really understand me, and it really what what triggered me was I'll never forget this. It was 2021, and I wear a lot of shirts with sayings on them. And so I love being able to just go in my closet, pick out a shirt that says something. And I couldn't read my shirt anymore. And
Oh,
I like cried about it.
oh,
And I was just like, oh my God, I can't read the shirt anymore. And fashion is part of my armor. I love my clothes. And so I called one of my friends and I was like, I'm really having a really bad day and it's really hurting. Like, I just want to know what my shirt says. And not only did she teach me at that time about Be My Eyes, but it was someone who got it. Like she just got it. She had been through a similar experience because she lost her vision later and she just understood. And the third piece of advice, journal. Because get those feelings out. Whatever they are, it doesn't matter if you're happy, you're sad, you're somewhere in the middle. Journal about it because this is a journey. Vision loss is a journey. You will have ups and you will have downs, and you need something to constantly remind you that at the end of the day, you made it through another day. So whether you're journaling once a week, twice a week, or even once a month, take time to document the things for yourself that matter so that when you do have those rough days, you can see how far you've come.
Michelle?
Oh, did I lose you? Can
Yeah,
you hear me?
you lost me there for a second. Don't worry, I'm back.
It's okay. Did you get so you can see how far you've come, or do I need to
Yeah.
read?
No,
Okay, great.
that's as far as we went.
Yep. Awesome. So those will be my piece of advice for people transitioning into like losing vision later in life.
Well, those are great. Tell us how people can reach out to you.
Oh my goodness. So you can find my author page. It's author M as in Mary, L as in Lima, Farrell, Farrell. Or find me on Facebook, Michele Farrell, Michelefarrell. I'm also on Instagram. Like I'm out here. Renee knows how to get me. You could
Yeah, yeah,
stalk,
just reach out to me. I'll have
yeah,
it stocked.
stalk her inbox. I'm trying to make her be my friend. So like maybe if you all tell her that you want to know me, then she'll have to talk to me more. Like
Oh no, that's fine. And you're coming up on one of our cooking shows too, so you'll be cooking for everyone.
oh, that's amazing. I can't wait.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Michelle, for being with us today on the Cooking Without Looking podcast. I really appreciate it. If anyone wants to reach out to us, our website is www.cookingwithoutlooking.com. WordPress, cooking without looking TV.wordpress.com. If you want to reach out to me, my phone number is 305-200-9104. If you want to see and listen to all of our shows on our Cooking Without Looking TV show YouTube channel, just go there. Um, and for past recipes and recipes from today, you can go again to our website at www.cookingwithoutlookingtv.wordpress.com. Subscribe. You get all sorts of recipes and tips Monday through Friday for free. So give that a try. And we have a fundraising apron on sale. For $55, you go to our website and you click on the very top, the Vision World Foundation link, and you can have your very own official Cooking Without Looking TV show apron. So you can give that a try. So again, thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you so much for having me, Renee. And y'all buy that apron. It's beautiful. Okay. Like I see it. Every time I see it, I'm like, buy this apron. It's so pretty.
It's
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 I
a fundraiser for us.
Yeah, it's a beautiful apron. I told my husband I wanted one, and he was like, "I'll get you one when I get paid again." So I'm gonna have my cooking without looking apron. Don't you just wait.
Yay! Okay. Thank you so much, Michelle, and you guys have a great day.
Thank you. Bye, guys.